The Mafia boss laughed when he said, "Beat my champion and I'll marry you." Everyone in the underground club laughed with him, everyone except the waitress. Lena Hayes stood beneath the cold lights of an abandoned Chicago steel mill, her uniform torn at the wrist, a broken glass at her feet, and an undefeated fighter waiting inside the cage. She had spent 3 years hiding from men more dangerous than anyone in that room. One careless promise was about to drag her past into the light. This is not just a story about a woman defeating a stronger man. It is about what happens when someone the world ignores finally stops pretending to be powerless. Stay until the end because the fight lasts only seconds, but its consequences could destroy an empire. Like the video and comment where you are watching from. 6 hours earlier, Lena Hayes woke to metal knocking inside the wall. The radiator beneath the window shuddered 3 times, gave one tired breath of warmth, then went cold. Outside, Chicago had disappeared beneath snow. Streetlights glowed behind a curtain of white. Tires hissed over wet pavement, followed by a siren moving south toward the river. Lena remained still beneath the thin blanket. Waking suddenly was dangerous. A frightened body made noise. A trained body listened first. No footsteps in the hallway. No pressure against the door. Only the pipes and the wind. She reached beneath the pillow and closed her hand around a folding knife. Then she looked at the clock. 8:17. Her shift began at 10. Lena sat up. Pain pulled beneath her left ribs deep and familiar. Cold weather always found the scar. She pressed 2 fingers against the old wound until the ache softened. The apartment was 1 room and a narrow bathroom. A small kitchen occupied 1 wall. 2 cabinets hung above a stained sink. One was empty. The other held coffee, rice pain medicine, and a can of soup. A white envelope waited beneath the entrance door. Lena already knew what it contained. Red letters showed through the paper. Final notice. Rent was 12 days late. Payment was required by Monday morning. She read the total once, folded the notice into 4 exact sections, and placed it inside a drawer filled with medical bills, utility warnings, and collection letters. Panic did not pay bills. Shame did not create money. Fear only made a person careless. On the table sat an old laptop that never connected to her apartment network. Lena used prepaid data devices bought in cash and destroyed every month. She opened the computer. 3 silent indicators appeared on the black screen. The first watched for searches connected to the name she had been born with. The second watched for a photograph that should have disappeared 3 years ago. The third watched a chain of accounts scattered across Europe and the Caribbean. All 3 remained dark. No one had searched for her. No one had found her face. No money had moved. She should have felt safe. Safety, however, had never been a feeling. It was only the temporary absence of proof. Lena closed the laptop and removed the data device. Beneath the sink, a metal tin held 2 spare phones, 3 sets of identification, and $900 in cash. $900 was not enough to start over. It was enough to disappear badly. She dressed in black pants, a white shirt, and a dark vest bearing the silver logo of the furnace. The uniform was 1 size too large. Loose fabric hid the scar near her ribs and the narrow leather sheath strapped against her lower back. In the cracked bathroom mirror, she tied her brown hair low and covered the sleepless shadows beneath her eyes. A forgettable face. That was the goal. The cold met her outside with the force of an open hand. Snow had gathered along the sidewalk in gray walls. The air tasted of salt and exhaust. Lena noticed the dark sedan across the street. Illinois plates. Engine off. Snow even across the windshield. Empty. She noticed the man smoking near the corner store. Work boots. Construction jacket. Both hands visible. Not watching her. At the bus shelter, she stood where the glass reflected the street behind her. The bus arrived 12 minutes late. She sat near the rear door and watched Chicago pass in blurred pieces. Brick houses, closed laundromats, neon signs. People bent beneath the weather, hurrying toward warm rooms and lives that belonged to them. After a second bus, she walked through an industrial district near the Calumet River. Freight tracks cut through the snow. Orange lights burned above loading docks where men moved crates beneath the supervision of armed guards. The furnace occupied an abandoned steel mill at the end of a dead road. Above ground, it looked forgotten. Broken windows faced the river. Rust covered the walls. The real entrance was around back. Two guards stood beneath a metal awning beside a black door. Lena recognized both. Curtis carried a pistol beneath his left arm. Dale kept his weapon beneath the front of his coat. A new camera watched the alley, though a narrow blind spot remained near frozen pallets. Lena noticed it. Then she lowered her eyes. Curtis opened the door. "You are late." She checked the clock above his shoulder. 3 minutes early. Feels late. That sounds personal. Dale laughed. Curtis did not. A freight elevator carried her beneath the building. Music rose through the floor low at first, then heavy enough to vibrate through her shoes. When the doors opened, heat and noise rushed toward her. The furnace had once stored industrial machinery. Now it was one of the most profitable illegal clubs in Chicago. Red light burned behind metal grates. A long bar made from factory steel ran along one wall. Private booths stood above the main floor, giving wealthy guests a clear view of the fighting cage. Men in tailored suits placed cash bets beside men with prison tattoos. Women in evening dresses drank champagne while fighters bled beneath white lights. Politicians came through private entrances. Police officers came without badges. Everyone pretended not to recognize anyone else. Lena had worked there for 4 months. The club paid cash. The manager did not ask questions. The guests rarely looked at servers long enough to remember them. It was nearly perfect. In the service corridor, Marisol Vega handed Lena a tray. "Table 14 has been waiting 10 minutes. Then they are experienced at it." Marisol smiled. She was 40, sharp-eyed and too intelligent to believe Lena was ordinary. Fortunately, she was also intelligent enough not to ask why. "You look tired." "I work nights in an illegal fight club. That explains the job, not the face." "What face? The one that says you might kill your radiator?" "It started the fight." Marisol laughed and pushed the tray toward her. "Go before table 14 kills me instead." Lena entered the main room. The first rule at the furnace was never ask for a real name. The second was never repeat what you heard. Lena had added a third. Never let anyone understand how much you noticed. She moved between tables with relaxed shoulders and lowered eyes. She remembered orders without writing them down, but pretended to check her pad. She heard conversations about gambling debts, city contracts, union votes, and containers arriving at South Harbor. She forgot each conversation the moment the speaker looked at her. At least that was what they believed. Near midnight, the atmosphere shifted. No announcement was made. Still men began standing. A path opened from the private elevator to the central floor. Vincent Caruso entered the furnace. He wore a black wool coat over a dark suit. No tie, no visible weapon. Snow melted along his shoulders beneath the red lights. He did not look like the loudest man in the room. He looked like the reason loud men lowered their voices. Noah Reed walked at his right side carrying a leather folder. Noah was lean gray at the temples and always seemed to hear things no one else could. Behind them came Mason Pike. Mason was 6'5" and built with the dense weight of a man who had spent his life learning how to make other bodies fail. A white scar crossed one eyebrow. Both hands were wrapped for the cage. The crowd greeted him with cheers. Vincent did not acknowledge the room until he reached his table. Then he removed his coat and sat. Every conversation resumed. Lena approached with bourbon and 3 glasses. Noah opened the folder. "The South Harbor numbers are short again," he said. Vincent poured his own drink. "How short enough to be a pattern? Caleb checked them. Caleb says they are clean. Then Caleb can check them again." Lena filled Noah's glass. On the open page, she saw a line of shipping totals upside down. Fuel costs were too high for the listed routes. Insurance charges had been repeated. One vessel number belonged to a ship dismantled years ago. Someone was lying. "Do you need something?" Vincent's voice was quiet. Lena realized his eyes were on her. She lifted the bottle. "I was waiting to see if you wanted another glass. I have one. Then you have everything you need." Noah looked up. Vincent studied her face as if he expected its surface to betray her. She lowered her eyes and stepped away. His attention followed her for 2 seconds. Then Mason's name thundered through the room. The next fight was beginning. Mason removed his shirt and climbed into the cage. Across from him stood a younger fighter from Milwaukee with taped ribs and fear hidden poorly behind anger. Lena returned to the bar and polished glasses. The mirror behind the liquor shelves gave her the entire cage. The bell rang. Mason moved forward. He claimed space with his shoulders and forced his opponent backward. He led with the right side and expected fear to keep anyone from stepping inside his reach. The younger man landed one clean strike against Mason's jaw. Mason smiled. Then he broke him down. A blow to the ribs, an elbow near the ear, a knee that folded the fighter against the cage. Lena watched Mason reset his stance. His left foot turned slightly outward. His right shoulder stiffened before every heavy punch. After each combination, his weight remained forward for half a breath. Vulnerable, predictable. The crowd roared when the younger fighter fell. For a moment, the steel walls vanished. Lena saw a concrete training room beneath white lights. A man stood over her with blood on his knuckles. "Get up." She tasted copper, her palms pressed against the floor. "Get up, Lena." The glass in her hand creaked. She returned to the present and loosened her grip before it shattered. Mason raised both arms while money changed hands around the room. At Vincent's table, men congratulated one another as if they had helped throw the punches. Another gin. The voice came from the end of the bar. Travis Boone sat alone on a stool, though his laughter belonged to the men behind him. He had been drinking for hours. His tie hung loose. His eyes carried the wet confidence of someone who had never suffered the full cost of his mistakes. Lena poured the gin. He watched her hands. No smile. "You ordered a drink. I ordered service." She placed the glass before him. "There it is." Travis did not touch it. "You know who I am, no?" A few men behind him laughed. His face tightened. "You work in Mr. Caruso's club and do not know who works for him. I know who signs my shift sheet." Travis leaned across the bar. "That mouth is going to get you in trouble." Lena reached for another glass. His hand closed around her wrist. The room did not stop, but the space around them changed. People noticed. No one intervened. Lena looked at his fingers. "Let go." Travis smiled. "I asked for a smile." His grip tightened. Pain pressed around the small bones in her wrist. Her first instinct rose clean and immediate. Break the thumb, strike the throat, drive his face into the steel. She buried the instinct before it reached her eyes. "I said let go. You do not tell me what to do in Mr. Caruso's club." Behind him, one of his friends grinned. At the private table, Vincent turned his head. Travis pulled Lena closer. She relaxed her arm. The sudden absence of resistance shifted his balance forward. Lena turned her wrist through the weakest point of his grip, stepped aside, and let his weight carry him across the bar. His chest struck the metal edge. The men behind him laughed. Humiliation reached him before pain. He grabbed for Lena again. This time she caught his hand in the air. Her thumb pressed beneath his wrist. Her fingers controlled the bones above his knuckles. The movement was small. The message was not. Travis tried to pull away. He could not. For 1 second, Lena looked directly at him. Something in her face erased the alcohol from his expression. Then she released him. He stumbled backward. "You think you are tough?" "No," Lena said. "I think you are drunk." More laughter. Travis turned red. His right hand disappeared beneath his jacket. Lena saw the motion. So did Vincent. The pistol cleared the fabric. Lena moved before anyone else. She caught Travis's wrist and turned the muzzle away from the crowd. His finger tightened against the trigger, but the angle had already changed. She drove his hand against the bar. Bone struck steel. The pistol fell and spun across the floor. Travis gasped. Lena stepped inside his reach. Her left hand controlled his damaged wrist. Her right hand rose toward his throat. For half a second, her fingers formed the shape of an old lesson, a strike beneath the jaw, a crushed airway. Silence before the body fell. Then she stopped. Her hand remained inches from his skin. Vincent saw exactly where it had been going. Lena lowered it. The club had gone quiet. Footsteps approached. Vincent Caruso stopped at the bar. He looked first at the pistol on the floor, then at the red mark around Lena's wrist, then at Travis. "Explain." Travis swallowed. "She attacked me." Vincent's gaze shifted to Lena. "He grabbed me. She embarrassed me in front of everyone," Travis said. Vincent looked back at him. "That sounds like something you did to yourself." Travis opened his mouth. Vincent lifted one finger. 2 guards appeared. "Take him upstairs. He can explain to Noah why he drew a weapon in my club. Mr. Caruso, I was only leave the gun." Travis stopped speaking. The guards pulled him away. No one laughed now. Vincent remained at the bar. Lena picked up the pistol by the grip and placed it between them. Where did you learn that he asked? She reached for the fallen gin glass. Learn what? The part where you almost killed him. Her hand paused for one breath. You are imagining things. No. Vincent leaned one forearm against the bar. I am careful about what I imagine. Noah stood behind him, studying Lena with open suspicion. Vincent reached across the bar and touched the red mark around her wrist. The gesture was light. Lena pulled away before she could stop herself. His eyes sharpened. You did not panic when he pulled the gun. I work in your club. That was not an answer. It was the only one you are getting. A murmur moved through the nearest tables. The exchange was no longer private. Mason climbed out of the cage behind them, blood on his wrapped knuckles. Men slapped his shoulders and praised him loudly enough to remind the room who he was. Vincent glanced toward him. Then he looked back at Lena. Maybe working here has made you overconfident. Maybe your employees have. The room became still. Noah stepped closer. Vincent. It was a warning. Vincent ignored it. He turned toward the cage. Mason noticed and smiled. Lena followed Vincent's gaze. She saw the champion's left foot angle outward. She saw the stiffness in his right shoulder. She saw the careless certainty in his face. Vincent looked at her again. Fine, he said. Let us find out what you really are. Vincent's words settled over the club like smoke. For several seconds, no one moved. Then Mason Pike laughed. It was a deep, careless sound, the kind that belonged to a man who had never been forced to question his own strength. He stepped down from the platform beside the cage, rolling one shoulder as he approached. You want me to fight the waitress? Vincent kept his eyes on Lena. I want you to teach her the cost of disrespect. Mason looked her over slowly. Lena stood behind the bar with one hand resting beside Travis's abandoned pistol. Her uniform sleeve was twisted at the wrist. A thin line of blood marked the place where Travis's fingernail had broken her skin. She did not look toward the exits. That was what bothered Noah. A frightened woman would have searched for a way out. An arrogant woman would have smiled for the crowd. Lena did neither. She watched Mason's feet. Mason noticed. His grin widened. This will not take long. A bookmaker near the cage shouted 30 seconds. Someone else called 20. Laughter moved across the room. Vincent felt the attention turning toward him. Every captain, rival, gambler, and corrupt official in the furnace understood that this was no longer about a waitress. It was about whether Vincent Caruso controlled the room. He had built his reputation on discipline. He kept his promises. He punished disrespect. He never allowed uncertainty to remain visible long enough for others to use it. Lena had created uncertainty. He intended to remove it. You think you can stand in my club and speak to me that way? Vincent asked. Lena looked at him. I think I already did. A few men lowered their glasses. Noah exhaled quietly. Vincent stepped closer to the bar. You move well when the man in front of you is drunk. Travis was not difficult. Mason's expression changed. Lena had not looked at him when she said it, which made the insult worse. Vincent turned his head. Mason. The champion approached until he stood only a few feet from Lena. Up close, he seemed even larger. His shoulders blocked part of the light. Sweat still shone across his chest from the previous fight. You should apologize, Mason said. To you, to Mr. Caruso. Lena's gaze moved from Mason to Vincent. Vincent waited. She picked up a clean towel and wiped a drop of gin from the steel counter. No. The room reacted as one body. Chairs shifted. Voices rose. Someone laughed in disbelief. Vincent felt anger sharpen beneath his ribs. He could have ordered her removed. He could have ended the situation with one word. But every eye in the club was watching. His anger became something colder. He glanced toward the cage. If you are so certain of yourself, prove it. Lena followed his gaze. Mason laughed again. Vincent's mouth curved. Beat my champion and I will marry you. The words came easily, too easily. For one heartbeat, the room did not understand what it had heard. Then the laughter began. It struck the walls and rolled beneath the steel beams. Men shouted across tables. Bookmakers stood and started taking bets before Vincent had finished speaking. Mason rested both hands on the bar and smiled at Lena. I will try not to damage the face. Lena looked at Vincent. There was no embarrassment in her expression. No confusion. Only a quiet calculation that made his smile fade slightly. Say it again, she said. The laughter weakened. Vincent tilted his head. You heard me. I want everyone else to hear you clearly. The club went silent a second time. Noah stepped beside Vincent. This has gone far enough. Vincent ignored him. Lena remained still. She understood something most people in the room did not. Vincent's promise had value because his name had value. If he repeated it publicly, the challenge would become more than entertainment. It would become a contract witnessed by every criminal faction in Chicago. Vincent recognized the thought behind her eyes. That should have warned him. Instead, it offended him. He moved closer until only the bar separated them. If you defeat Mason Pike in that cage, I will marry you. Lena's voice stayed calm. Not own me. Marriage, with your name, with my name. And everyone here is a witness. Vincent glanced around the club. Phones had appeared. Men were recording from private booths. Rival representatives leaned forward with open interest. He could still stop. He did not. Everyone heard me. Lena looked at Mason. The champion opened his arms as if welcoming her into a grave. She removed her apron. Then she bent down and untied her work shoes. Vincent watched her place them neatly beside the broken tray. No hesitation, no trembling hands. Lena stepped from behind the bar in black socks. Marisol caught her arm near the service entrance. You do not have to do this. Lena looked at her. Yes, I do. He will hurt you. Lena glanced toward Mason. He will try. Marisol's grip tightened. Lena lowered her voice. Stay away from the cage. Something in her tone made Marisol release her. Lena crossed the floor. The crowd opened around her. Men stared with the fascinated cruelty of people who believed they were about to witness a death that would not belong to them. Money changed hands. A bookmaker called the odds, 20-1, then 30. By the time Lena reached the cage, someone offered 50. Mason climbed through the steel door and returned to the center. He bounced lightly on his feet. Lena stopped outside the cage. Vincent stood several feet away. For the first time, she looked directly at him without the safety of the bar between them. You expect this to frighten me? Vincent lowered his voice. I expect it to correct you. Those are not the same thing. His jaw tightened. Lena entered the cage. The door closed behind her with a heavy metallic sound. Mason moved toward her. The referee was a retired boxer named Ellis who worked for Vincent and knew when not to ask questions. He looked uncertainly between them. Rules. Mason grinned. No weapons. Lena looked at Ellis. Does he stop when I tell him to? The crowd laughed. Mason's smile hardened. Ellis glanced at Vincent. Vincent gave a single nod. The fight ends when one person cannot continue. Lena rolled her shoulders once. Pain pulled beneath her left ribs. The old scar had already begun to ache from the cold, but she ignored it. She studied Mason. His left foot remained angled outward. His right shoulder sat slightly higher than the left. The earlier fight had warmed his muscles, but it had also made him careless. He expected her to run. Mason stepped closer. You still have time to apologize. Lena raised her hands. You first. The bell rang. Mason charged. He crossed the cage with frightening speed. Lena moved to her right. His fist passed close enough to disturb the loose strands of her hair. The crowd shouted. Mason turned and came again. This time he changed his angle, trapping her near the steel wall. His right hand struck her shoulder. Pain exploded through her body. The impact drove her into the cage. Metal shook behind her. The crowd roared with approval. Vincent watched her face. For the first time, he saw pain. It lasted less than a second. Mason smiled. There you are. Lena pushed away from the wall. The ache beneath her ribs sharpened. She could feel the old scar tightening with every breath. Mason believed the first strike had proven the difference between them. That belief made him faster. It also made him less careful. He advanced with both hands high. Lena gave him ground, one step, then another. Mason threw a heavy right. She slipped inside the punch and drove the edge of her forearm beneath his jaw. The strike did not hurt him enough to stop him. It interrupted his balance. Lena stepped behind his left foot and turned sharply. Mason tried to pivot. His damaged knee refused. He dropped to one hand. The sound of his palm striking the floor silenced the nearest tables. Lena moved away before he could grab her. Mason rose with anger burning across his face. The laughter had stopped. He touched his jaw. You got lucky. Lena breathed through the pain in her ribs. Turn left. What's your knee? Mason looked down without meaning to. The mistake lasted half a second. Lena saw it. So did Vincent. Mason roared and rushed forward. He no longer fought to embarrass her. He wanted to break her. Lena remained at the center. He expected her to move again. She did not. At the last possible moment, she stepped inside his reach. Mason wrapped both arms around her waist. His strength closed around her like steel. The crowd came alive. He lifted her from the floor. For one suspended moment, Lena saw the cage beneath her feet. Her scar tore with a bright line of pain. Mason turned toward the wall, preparing to drive her into it. Lena forced one arm between their bodies. She pressed her forearm against his throat and shifted her hips before he completed the turn. His grip loosened just enough. Her feet touched the floor. She trapped his right arm against her body. Mason tried to pull free. Lena turned beneath the arm, dropped her weight, and used his forward momentum. Mason hit the concrete. The cage shook. A glass slipped from someone's hand outside and shattered. Lena landed beside him with control of his wrist and elbow. Mason tried to rise. She tightened the hold. Stay down. He looked at her in disbelief. Then rage overcame judgment. He planted his free hand against the floor and tried to force himself upright. Lena increased the pressure. Stay down. Mason reached toward her face. His fingers brushed her throat. Lena changed the angle. The break sounded clean. A sharp crack. Mason screamed. The entire club went silent. Lena released him immediately and rolled away. Mason curled around his ruined arm, breathing through clenched teeth. Ellis stared at him, then at Lena. The clock above the cage read 11 seconds. No one cheered. The victory was too fast for celebration, too complete for doubt. Lena stood slowly. Her shoulder throbbed. Warm blood spread beneath her shirt near the old scar, though the dark vest hid it. She looked toward Vincent. He had not moved. His face revealed nothing. Only his eyes had changed. The woman inside the cage was not the woman he had challenged. Perhaps she never had been. Ellis opened the cage door. Lena stepped out. The crowd moved away from her. Men who had laughed now avoided her eyes. She crossed the floor barefoot, returned behind the bar, and picked up the clean towel. Marisol stared at her. Lena placed the towel beside the sink. Table 14 still needs drinks. Marisol looked toward the cage where medics were lifting Mason onto a stretcher. You broke his arm. He had two. Marisol's mouth opened, but no words came. Noah approached Vincent. His voice was low. The recordings are already out. Vincent watched Lena pour bourbon as if nothing had happened. How many people saw all of them? That was not the question. Noah opened his phone. 3 videos have been sent outside the building. One reached a Harlow bookmaker before the fight ended. Vincent looked toward the private booth where Grant Harlow's representatives had been sitting. The booth was empty. How much did they lose? Nearly $6 million. Vincent's expression remained calm. Noah knew him well enough to see the violence beneath it. The Harlow Syndicate will call this manipulation, Noah continued. They will say Mason's defeat was arranged. It was not. That will not matter. Across the room, Lena placed a glass in front of a stunned customer. The man moved his hands away as if the drink might explode. Vincent walked toward her. The crowd watched him pass. Lena did not look up until he reached the bar. You knew you could beat him. I knew he could not turn left. You studied him. I have eyes. You broke the arm of a man who earns me money. He tried to crush me against a wall. He was fighting. So was I. Vincent leaned closer. You think this is amusing? Lena met his gaze. No. Then why are you smiling? She had not realized she was. The expression vanished. I was thinking about the wedding. A nervous sound moved through the room. Vincent's face hardened. Lena continued. I prefer June. Chicago winters are terrible for photographs. Noah closed his eyes briefly. Vincent stared at her. His first instinct was to have the room cleared and the woman removed. His second was darker. Both instincts were useless. Every person in the furnace had heard the promise. If he refused to honor it, every agreement bearing his name would become weaker. Rivals would question contracts. Captains would wonder which promises mattered and which could be ignored. If he killed Lena, the story would be even worse. Vincent Caruso challenged a waitress. She defeated his champion. He murdered her because he was embarrassed. Fear protected power only when it looked deliberate. This would look desperate. Lena understood all of it. That knowledge unsettled him more than the fight. Noah stepped between them slightly. "We need to clear the club." Vincent kept his eyes on Lena. "Lock the doors." The music stopped. Guards moved through the room. Guests were instructed to surrender their phones before leaving. Several objected. Noah reminded them whose building they occupied. The recordings already outside could not be recovered, but Vincent would not allow more footage to spread freely. Lena continued working while the room emptied. A man from Detroit placed a $100 bill on the bar and left without waiting for change. Marisol stood near the service corridor watching Lena with equal parts fear and concern. Within 20 minutes, only Vincent's people remained. Mason had been taken upstairs to a private doctor. Blood marked the cage floor. Vincent walked behind the bar. Lena stopped him with a look. "Employees only." He almost laughed. "Almost. You are finished here. Am I fired? You are coming with me. I have a shift. You have become a political problem. That sounds like management." Vincent caught her arm. His grip was firm but controlled. Lena looked down at his hand. Vincent released her. The movement did not go unnoticed by Noah. "Get your coat," Vincent said. Lena considered refusing. Then she looked toward the locked entrance. Every rival who had lost money now knew her face. The room was no longer safe. Her apartment might not be safe either. She removed her apron and handed it to Marisol. "Do not go home alone." Marisol's eyes widened. "Lena, who are you?" Lena held her gaze for a moment. "Someone who should have left Chicago yesterday." Vincent heard the answer. He said nothing. The drive north took nearly an hour. Lena sat in the rear of a black armored sedan with Vincent beside her. Noah occupied the front passenger seat. Snow moved across the windshield in white sheets. The city passed outside in fragments of light. No one spoke for the first 15 minutes. Lena used the silence to study the vehicle. Reinforced glass, hidden locking controls, a medical kit beneath the opposite seat. 2 vehicles followed them. One remained ahead. Vincent noticed her eyes moving. Planning an escape, planning for one. Do you always count exits? Yes, that must be exhausting. Only when people block them. Noah looked back from the front. "What name did you use before, Lena Hayes?" She met his eyes in the mirror. "The same one I am using now. You did not exist 4 years ago." "Most people do not exist in the places you are looking." Noah turned forward again. Vincent watched her. Blood had begun to darken the side of her white shirt. "You are hurt." Lena looked down. It opened. What opened? An old injury. Vincent reached toward her side. She caught his wrist before he touched her. The movement was immediate. His bodyguard in the following vehicle would have shot her if they had been inside the same car. Vincent did not pull away. Their hands remained locked between them. Lena slowly released him. "Do not touch me without warning." Vincent lowered his hand. Noted. The answer surprised her. Men with power usually treated boundaries as invitations to test them. Vincent looked out the window. "Who shot you?" Lena said nothing. The gates of the Caruso estate appeared through the snow. Stone walls surrounded several acres near Lake Forest. Cameras turned toward the convoy. Armed guards checked the vehicles before the gates opened. The mansion beyond was dark brick and pale stone old enough to carry history and large enough to hide it. Lena counted 7 visible guards before the sedan stopped. 2 more watched from upper windows. Vincent got out first. She followed. Cold wind cut through the torn sleeve of her uniform. Inside the house was warm and silent. No servants waited in the entrance hall. No family photographs covered the walls. Only paintings, dark wood, and expensive furniture placed with perfect restraint. The mansion felt less like a home than a command center designed to resemble one. Vincent led her into a study. A fire burned behind a broad desk. Noah entered with a leather folder and closed the door. Lena remained standing. Vincent removed his coat. "Sit. I prefer to stand. That was not a request. Then we are beginning badly." Noah placed the folder on the desk. Vincent looked at him. "Leave us." "No." The answer came without hesitation. Vincent's eyes narrowed. Noah continued. "She defeated Mason in 11 seconds, disarmed Travis, and has no verifiable history. I am staying." Lena looked at him. "He is sensible." Vincent walked behind the desk. "Do not encourage him." Noah opened the folder. We started checking the name before we left the club. Lena Hayes has a driver's license, tax records, 2 former addresses, and employment history across 3 states. Vincent poured whiskey into a glass. That sounds ordinary. It is too ordinary. Noah turned a page. No school records, no childhood address, no family connections, no medical history before 3 years ago. Her fingerprints produced nothing. Lena looked at the fire. Vincent placed the drink on the desk without tasting it. Police, number of military, no. Federal Lena's expression did not change. Vincent came around the desk. What happened 3 years ago? She looked at him. I died. The fire cracked behind them. Noah's face remained still, but his eyes sharpened. Vincent stopped several feet away. Explain. Lena considered the door. 2 guards waited outside. At least 3 more stood between the study and the entrance. Running would confirm every suspicion and leave her exposed to the Harlow syndicate. Telling the truth could be worse. She chose the smallest piece of it. I worked for a private logistics company. Noah said name, Meridian. He showed no recognition. Vincent did. Only slightly. Lena saw it. You have heard of them. I have heard rumors. The rumors are probably kinder. Vincent leaned against the desk. What did they move? Anything someone wealthy wanted moved quietly. Weapons, yes. Money, yes. People. Lena's gaze hardened. Yes. Noah closed the folder. What was your position? I followed the systems. That means nothing. It means I studied shipping routes, insurance records, customs, data corporate accounts, and security schedules. I found weak points. I found theft. I found people who thought numbers could not testify against them. Vincent looked toward the blood spreading beneath her shirt, and the fighting Meridian-trained analysts who knew too much. To protect themselves, to protect the company's information. Noah stepped closer to the desk. Why did they try to kill you? Lena's jaw tightened. She could smell smoke that was not in the room, concrete beneath her cheek, blood filling her mouth. A man smiling as he raised the pistol. She forced the memory down. I found something I was not supposed to find. What I do not know enough about either of you to answer that. Vincent's voice became colder. You are standing in my house after breaking my champion's arm. You will answer. Lena looked directly at him. They were stealing from themselves. Noah frowned. That does not explain the assassination. They were using legitimate shipments to hide something outside the approved network. When I traced the accounts, I found names belonging to senior Meridian leadership. They decided the investigation ended with me. How did you survive? They shot me near the ribs. Her hand moved unconsciously toward the scar. Then they set fire to the building. Vincent's eyes dropped to the blood on her shirt. They thought the fire destroyed the body. It destroyed enough. Noah studied her in silence. You have been hiding for 3 years, yes, as a waitress, as anyone people do not remember. Vincent poured another glass of whiskey and offered it. Lena did not take it. What changed tonight, he asked. You did. His expression hardened. You stepped into the cage. You put me there. You could have refused. Lena gave a quiet laugh without humor. In front of your men, after I embarrassed one of them, refusal would have made me weak. Winning made me visible. You did not offer a safe choice. Vincent knew she was right. He disliked that more than he disliked her defiance. Noah's phone vibrated. He checked the screen. Harlow's people are demanding a meeting. Vincent did not look away from Lena. Tomorrow. They are demanding tonight. They can demand from the street. Noah hesitated. They believe the fight was fixed. They want the 6 million returned. It was not fixed. They do not care. Lena spoke quietly. They cannot accuse you of fixing it without admitting they placed illegal bets in your club. Noah looked at her. They do not need a courtroom argument. No, they need leverage. She turned toward Vincent. And now they have me. Vincent's face became unreadable. Lena continued. If you release me, Harlow takes me. He makes me repeat the story in front of every crew in Chicago. Your champion loses. Your promise becomes a joke. Your name becomes negotiable. Noah said nothing. Vincent's eyes remained on her. And if I kill you? Lena's heartbeat quickened, but her voice did not. Then the story becomes worse. How you challenged a waitress. She defeated your champion. You killed her because you were humiliated. The room went still. Lena took one step closer. Men like Harlow do not need the truth. They need a version people enjoy repeating. Vincent's jaw tightened. You believe you understand my reputation. I understand systems. I am not a system. Everyone with power is. Noah watched Vincent carefully. Most people who spoke to him that way did not leave the room. Lena knew it too. That was the point. If Vincent wanted her dead, obedience would not save her. Only usefulness might. Noah finally spoke. There is another issue. Vincent looked at him. The promise. Lena did not move. Noah continued. Every organization in that room heard you. Your agreements depend on the belief that your word is absolute. Vincent turned toward the fire. He had signed shipping deals without contracts, settled territory disputes with a handshake, borrowed and lent millions based on nothing more than his name. A broken promise, even one made in anger, would spread. Not immediately, not dramatically, but weakness did not need to be dramatic. It only needed to be noticed. Lena watched the realization settle over him. You need the marriage, she said. Vincent looked back at her. Do not mistake necessity for affection. I would not insult either of us. Noah rubbed one hand across his jaw. Harlow cannot move against her openly if she carries your name. He can, Vincent said, but it becomes an attack on me. And the other crews will stop laughing, Lena added. Vincent crossed the room until he stood close enough for her to feel the heat coming from his body. You think becoming my wife makes you safe, no? What does it make you expensive to kill? For the first time since they entered the study, Vincent smiled. It was small and dangerous. You understand this world better than you claim. I understand men who confuse violence with order. The smile disappeared. Lena held his gaze. Fear moved beneath her skin, cold and steady. She did not deny it. She did not let it choose for her. Vincent glanced at Noah. What happens if we announce the marriage? Harlow loses the cleanest path to her. The other families treat the fight as a public demonstration instead of a humiliation. Mason's defeat becomes the moment your organization acquired a new asset. Lena looked toward Noah. I am not an asset, no, Noah said. You are a risk. Vincent returned his attention to her. You become my wife. You stand beside me publicly until the noise around the fight dies. My name protects you from Harlow and anyone else searching for you, and in return, you follow my rules. Lena's expression cooled. No, Vincent's brows lifted. No, I did not survive Meridian to become property in a larger house. You are in no position to negotiate. I am the reason you need the negotiation. The fire snapped. Noah looked between them. Vincent stepped closer. You have a remarkable talent for making dangerous situations worse. I have a remarkable talent for surviving them. For several seconds, neither moved. Then Vincent returned to the desk and poured a fresh glass. We marry Saturday. Lena looked at the whiskey, then at the armed man who controlled much of Chicago and had accidentally tied his reputation to hers. She thought of the red rent notice folded inside her drawer, the old laptop, the dark alerts, the photograph that could wake at any moment. A marriage to Vincent Caruso could become a cage. It could also become the first wall strong enough to keep Meridian out. Lena sat in the chair at last. Not until we discuss my terms. Vincent stood behind the desk with one hand around the whiskey glass. The fire burned low, throwing uneven light across his face. Outside the tall windows, snow covered the estate grounds in silence. The gates were locked. Armed men guarded every road leading to the house. Lena sat in the leather chair with blood drying beneath her shirt and Travis Boone's red fingerprints still visible around her wrist. She looked exhausted. She did not look defeated. Noah remained near the door, watching them both. Vincent lifted the glass but did not drink. You are alive because I have not decided otherwise. Lena rested her hands on the arms of the chair. And you still need me alive when morning comes. The room became quiet. Vincent had heard begging in offices like this. He had watched men offer money, property names, and family members in exchange for one more day. Lena offered nothing. She simply identified the truth and placed it between them. Vincent set down the whiskey. Speak. My first condition is separate bedrooms. Noah looked toward the fire. Vincent's expression did not change. Lena continued before he could respond. You need a public marriage. You do not own my body because you made a careless promise in a crowded room. Vincent walked around the desk. You believe I force women into my bed? I believe men with power often stop recognizing the difference between permission and silence. His eyes hardened. You know nothing about me. I know you turned my life into a wager because I embarrassed one of your men. Vincent stopped in front of her. Lena could feel his anger, but he kept it under control. That control made him more dangerous than Travis, more dangerous than Mason, perhaps more dangerous than anyone she had faced in years. He leaned closer. If I wanted obedience, you would not be sitting in that chair negotiating, then agree. For several seconds, they watched one another. Vincent straightened. Separate bedrooms. Lena waited. Agreed, he said. The answer came without hesitation. That surprised her more than refusal would have. She concealed it. My second condition is access to a secure server. Noah stepped away from the door. No. Lena looked at him. I was not asking you. You are asking for access to this organization's network. I am asking for isolated equipment, no connection to your central system, high bandwidth encrypted storage, and enough processing power to monitor several financial and security channels at once. Noah moved closer. You expect us to place that inside the estate. If the people hunting me are already in Chicago, I would prefer to know before they arrive at the gate. Vincent's gaze sharpened. You said Meridian believes you are dead. They did. Past tense, Lena looked toward the dark windows. The fight was recorded. My face was visible. Noah took out his phone. Most of the footage is poor. Poor does not mean useless. Lena turned to Vincent. Meridian uses private recognition systems. Old photographs, archived security footage, border records, employee files. If one image matches strongly enough, someone will investigate. And your server stops that no. It tells me when they begin. Noah crossed his arms. What exactly would you monitor search activity connected to my former identity? Dormant accounts, old communication channels, shipping codes, corporate names Meridian used when it wanted to disappear inside legitimate business. Vincent studied her. You have been doing this from your apartment? Yes. With what kind of equipment? A laptop older than some of your soldiers. Noah said any server we provide will be monitored. Lena nodded. You can monitor traffic leaving the system. You cannot interfere with the alerts. And if you contact Meridian, I tell Vincent first. Noah looked at his boss. Vincent remained silent. Lena added, if you deny me the server, I build the system somewhere else. Then you will know less than I do. Noah's mouth tightened. Vincent looked almost amused. You make threats carefully. I make choices clearly. He walked back toward the desk. You get the server. Noah turned. Vincent. Isolated network, full monitoring, nothing connects to our operational systems. Noah did not agree, but he nodded once. Lena released a slow breath. My final condition is financial. Vincent leaned against the desk. How much all of it? All of what, my debt? Lena's voice remained steady, though this demand felt more exposing than the others. She had told them she was trained by Meridian. She had admitted to surviving a bullet and a fire. Those facts belonged to another life. Debt belonged to this one. Rent, she said, medical bills, credit cards, collection accounts. Every balance attached to the name Lena Hayes. Vincent looked at her uniform, the worn fabric at the cuffs, the small repair near one button. How much less than you lost when Mason fell? That is not an answer. $38,000. Noah's expression changed slightly. It was not a large amount in Vincent's world. Men in the furnace had wagered more on a single round. To Lena, it was the wall at the end of every month. Vincent asked, why make that a condition? Because debt is another person deciding where you can go. He said nothing. Lena continued, if I am expected to walk into rooms beside you, I will not return at night to collection calls and final notices. I will not carry your name while strangers own pieces of mine. Vincent's gaze remained on her face. Done. She searched for hesitation. There was none. Noah opened his phone. I will need the account details. You will have them. Vincent picked up the whiskey and finally took a drink. My conditions. Lena sat back. Of course. You appear beside me when required. Dinners, meetings, public events, and any gathering where your absence would suggest weakness. I decide what I wear. Vincent glanced at her blood-stained uniform. Within reason. My reason. His mouth moved almost a smile. We will discuss it. That means no. That means you will not attend a formal dinner dressed for a bar shift. Lena accepted that with silence. Vincent continued. You do not contact anyone from Meridian without telling me. I already agreed to that. You do not leave the estate without security. No. That is not negotiable. It is if the guards report every breath I take. They will report danger. They will report location, time, meetings, and movement. Yes. Lena stood. Pain pulled across her ribs, but she kept her face still. I spent 3 years building a life where no one knew where I slept. I will not trade one cage for another. Vincent set down the glass. You are no longer invisible. That does not make surveillance acceptable. It makes protection necessary. Protection without choice is confinement. Noah watched Vincent closely. The argument was no longer about security. It was about the foundation of whatever agreement they were building. Vincent approached until they stood an arm's length apart. You cannot walk through Chicago alone after tonight. I can. You may survive. That does not make it intelligent. Lena held his gaze. 2 guards. They keep distance unless I ask otherwise. They do not enter private rooms. They do not touch my belongings. Vincent considered it. You carry a tracking device. No, yes, no. His voice lowered. If Harlow takes you, he does not only take my wife, he takes the woman who defeated my champion and turns her into a public weapon. I will not let pride make you careless. Lena felt anger rise. Then she heard the distinction. He had not called her weak. He had called her proud. It was irritating because it was partly true. A device I can remove, she said. No. One I control. No. A phone registered to the security team. I keep it with me outside the estate. You track the phone, not my body. Vincent thought for a moment. Agreed. Noah made a note. Vincent continued. You do not lie about threats that could endanger this house. Lena looked at him. That rule applies to you. Noah raised his eyes from the phone. Vincent's expression became unreadable. No one gives me rules in my house. Then do not call this a contract. The fire cracked behind them. Lena did not look away. If you expect me to disclose every danger connected to Meridian, then I expect to know when one of your wars could put a bullet through my window. Vincent looked toward Noah. Noah gave the smallest nod. It was reasonable. Vincent returned his attention to Lena. The rule applies to both of us. Lena extended her hand. Vincent looked at it. You want to shake on it? You said your word has value. He took her hand. His palm was warm. His grip was firm, but not possessive. For a second, neither released the other. Lena felt the strange weight of the agreement settle around them. Not trust, not yet. Something with enough shape to become trust if neither of them destroyed it first. Vincent let go. You need a doctor. I need a bathroom and a needle. Noah frowned. For the wound, it reopened. It is not deep. Vincent pressed a button beneath the desk. A woman entered less than a minute later carrying a medical case. She was in her 50s, calm, and dressed in dark blue scrubs. Dr. Mercer, Vincent said. She is discreet. Lena looked at the doctor. Dr. Mercer looked at the blood. I need to examine the injury. Lena turned toward Vincent and Noah. Outside. Noah left immediately. Vincent remained. Lena waited. He looked at the blood beneath her shirt, then at her face. This is my study. Then you know where to find it when I am finished. For a moment she expected resistance. Vincent walked to the door. Before leaving, he looked back. Do not disappear. Lena sat down beside the fire. If I could, I would not need the marriage. The door closed. Dr. Mercer cut the side seam of Lena's shirt. The old wound had torn along the edge of the scar. It required cleaning and several stitches, but the damage was not serious. The doctor worked without questions. Lena gripped the chair when the needle passed through damaged skin. You can ask for pain medicine, Dr. Mercer said. I know. You do not have to prove anything. I know that too. The doctor tied the final stitch. You have a high tolerance. Lena looked at the fire. No, I have experience. When the examination ended, a housekeeper brought clean clothing and led Lena upstairs. The guest suite was larger than her entire apartment. A fire burned in a marble fireplace. Thick curtains covered the windows. The bathroom contained white stone warm floors and towels softer than anything she owned. Lena stood near the center of the bedroom. Luxury did not make her relax. It gave danger more places to hide. She checked the windows, the closet, the connecting door, and the space beneath the bed. A camera watched the hallway outside, but none were visible inside the room. On a table near the window sat a new phone. Only one number had been stored. Vincent. Lena placed the phone inside a drawer. She slept for less than 2 hours. At 7 in the morning, a knock woke her. Noah stood outside with a thin laptop and a paper folder. You asked for a server. That was fast. You do not have the server yet. This is a test. Lena stepped aside. He entered but remained near the door. The folder contained financial statements from South Harbor. Noah placed the laptop on the table. The same information appears in both formats. Tell me what you see. Lena looked at him. You want to know whether I can read your books? I want to know whether you are what you claim. She sat and opened the folder. 3 pages showed shipping costs, insurance payments, fuel expenses, labor invoices, and maintenance reports. At first glance, the numbers appeared clean. Lena read them once. Then she looked at the digital version. 2 minutes passed. Noah stood without speaking. Lena closed the folder. It is false. His expression did not change. What is false? All of it. That is convenient. The fuel expense was duplicated across 2 routes, but the invoice dates differ by 1 day. The insurance policy number belongs to a vessel sold for scrap 2 years ago. 3 maintenance charges contain the same typing error, which means someone copied the entries from one source. The labor totals are correct, but the worker identification numbers repeat. Noah's eyes narrowed. Lena turned the laptop toward him. And whoever prepared the false report knew you would compare the totals, so they kept the final amount close to the expected loss. How close? Within 2%. Noah looked at the screen. You found that in 2 minutes. I found enough in 2 minutes. The bedroom door opened. Vincent stood in the doorway wearing a dark suit. He had heard the final exchange. Noah picked up the folder. I gave her a fabricated report. Vincent looked at Lena. She noticed. She noticed everything. Lena closed the laptop. Not everything. Vincent entered. What did you miss? The person who created it. Noah said that was not part of the test. It should have been. Vincent glanced at him. Noah did not argue. Lena stood carefully protecting the stitches beneath her ribs. When do I get the real server? By tonight, Vincent said. And my debts. Noah handed her a second folder. Inside were payment confirmations. Every account showed a 0 balance. Medical collections, credit cards, rent, even the utility notice waiting inside her apartment had been cleared. Lena stared at the pages longer than she intended. For 3 years, every decision had been measured against money. How many meals she could skip, how long she could delay a bill, how far $900 could carry her if she had to run. Now the numbers were gone. Her hands began to shake. She placed the folder on the table before either man could notice. Vincent noticed. Noah did not. I need a moment, Lena said. Noah collected the test documents and left. Vincent remained near the door. Lena kept her back to him. You completed your part quickly. I said I would. Most people say many things at night. I am not most people. Lena looked at the payment records again. Something tight inside her chest loosened. The relief hurt more than she expected. Vincent stepped into the hallway. He pulled the door almost closed, then paused. The jeweler arrives at noon. She turned. For what? The ring? I assumed the promise included one. His eyes rested on her face. It does. He closed the door. At noon, a private jeweler displayed velvet trays across a table in the library. Diamonds caught the winter light. Some were surrounded by smaller stones. Others rose high above delicate gold settings. Lena rejected the first tray, then the second. Vincent stood near the fireplace watching her. The jeweler lifted a large oval diamond. This piece is exceptional. Lena tried it on, closed her hand, and felt the setting press into her finger. No, the jeweler blinked. May I ask what you are looking for? A ring that does not interfere with movement. Vincent said, She means fighting. The jeweler looked uncertain. Lena selected a simple platinum band with a low diamond set close to the metal. She slipped it on and formed a fist. Nothing caught. This one. Vincent came closer. That is the least expensive ring on the table. I did not ask the price. You are marrying a Caruso. I am also keeping all my fingers. A quiet laugh escaped him. It was the first genuine sound of amusement Lena had heard from him. The jeweler looked between them, unsure whether he was allowed to react. Vincent took the ring from Lena's hand. He held her fingers and slid it back into place himself. His touch was careful. The diamond settled against her skin. Neither spoke. The moment lasted only a few seconds, but the room seemed smaller when it ended. That afternoon, a seamstress arrived with dresses. Lena refused white. Vincent did not argue. She selected a dark blue dress for the ceremony and a black silk gown for the formal gathering scheduled 2 days later at the Halcyon Hotel. The black gown had long sleeves, a fitted waist, and enough room in the skirt for movement. "It needs pockets," Lena said. The seamstress looked offended. "It is an evening gown. Then it needs evening pockets." Vincent entered while the seamstress adjusted the back. Lena turned too late. The fabric had slipped below the scar near her ribs. The mark was pale at the edges and darker where the bullet had entered. Fire damage spread beneath it in uneven lines. Vincent stopped. Lena pulled the fabric into place. "You should knock. This is my house. That defense is becoming repetitive." His gaze remained on her face. "Who shot you?" A man who smiled first. "Is he alive? I do not know." Vincent stepped closer, but he did not touch the scar. "If he is, he made a mistake." Lena met his eyes in the mirror. That sounded protective. It was territorial. Of course. The seamstress kept her attention on the fabric, though her hands had stopped moving. Vincent looked at the black gown. "You will wear that Monday." Lena turned. "What happens Monday?" "The Halcyon Gala. Who attends? Everyone who matters." "That usually means everyone who thinks they do." Vincent's mouth moved slightly. "Grant Harlow will be there." The humor disappeared from her face. "He wants his money. He wants you frightened." Lena looked at her reflection. The dress was elegant, but its shape felt like armor. "Then he will be disappointed." The wedding took place Saturday evening in a private chapel north of the city. Snow fell beyond the stained glass windows. No guests filled the pews. Only Noah, 2 guards, a judge, and the required witnesses stood beneath the dim lights. Vincent wore black. Lena wore the dark blue dress. The ceremony was brief. No music, no flowers, no family. The judge spoke of loyalty, partnership, and protection. Each word sounded strangely serious in the quiet chapel. When the judge asked Vincent whether he accepted Lena as his wife, he looked directly at her. "I do." There was no laughter in his voice. Lena felt the weight of every witness from the furnace, though none of them were present. She answered softly, "I do." Vincent placed the platinum ring on her hand. When the judge waited for the kiss, Vincent stepped close. He did not touch her immediately. His face remained inches from hers. The question was silent. Lena gave the smallest nod. His lips touched hers. The kiss was controlled and brief, but it unsettled her more than force would have. Vincent stepped back first. The judge signed the papers. Lena Hayes became Lena Caruso. That night, Vincent walked her to the guest wing. He stopped outside her bedroom. "Your room." Lena looked down the long hallway. "And yours, the other side of the house. You keep your agreements. I keep all of them." He started to leave. "Vincent." He looked back. "Why did you make the challenge?" His expression changed. "I expected you to be afraid. I was afraid." "You entered the cage." Lena rested one hand on the door. "Fear and obedience are not the same thing." Vincent watched her for a long moment. Then he walked away. Near midnight, the secure room became operational. Noah had installed an isolated server behind 2 locked doors in the east wing. Lena rebuilt her old monitoring system while snow gathered against the windows. The first searches returned nothing. She checked old corporate names, shipping codes, and dormant Meridian accounts. One indicator remained dark, then another. At 12:43, a red alert appeared. Someone in Chicago had searched an archived photograph connected to Lena's former identity. A second alert followed. A shell company belonging to Grant Harlow had accessed shipping records tied to Vincent's South Harbor warehouses. Lena opened the manifests. 4 containers had moved through the docks without appearing in the official books. One carried a code she had not seen in 3 years, Meridian. The door opened behind her. Vincent entered. "The gala begins Monday at 8. Lena turned the screen toward him. "Then Harlow is not coming only for his money." Vincent read the code. His face became still. Outside, the wind struck the windows, and somewhere beyond the estate walls, Chicago continued sleeping as though no one had begun hunting Lena again. Vincent stood beside the server screen, one hand resting on the back of her chair. The Meridian code glowed in red. For 3 years, Lena had trained herself not to imagine this moment. Fear grew stronger when given a face, so she had reduced Meridian to numbers, dormant accounts, and silent alerts. As long as the indicators remained dark, the past could stay buried beneath a false name and an unpaid life. Now, one of those indicators was alive. Vincent read the shipping record twice. What does the code mean, priority cargo? What kind Meridian changed the contents every time? Weapons, surveillance equipment, people. Sometimes information was more valuable than anything inside the container. And one moved through my harbor. 4 moved through your harbor. 1 used this code. Vincent looked toward the second screen where Grant Harlow's shell company appeared beside the South Harbor manifest. Caleb oversees those docks. Lena heard the resistance in his voice. Caleb Shaw was not merely an employee. He had grown up beside Vincent. Men in the organization spoke of them as brothers who had survived the same streets, the same war, and the same funerals. Lena understood the problem immediately. Evidence was easy to accept when it pointed toward an enemy. It became much harder when it pointed toward family. "I am not accusing him," she said. Vincent's eyes remained on the screen. "You are thinking it. I am thinking someone with internal access approved those containers." Noah entered the secure room carrying 2 cups of coffee. He stopped when he saw the red alert. "What happened?" Lena turned the screen toward him. Noah placed the cups on the desk and leaned closer. His face changed when he read the port authorization number. "That credential belongs to South Harbor Management," Caleb Vincent asked. Caleb and 3 supervisors beneath him. Vincent looked at Lena. "You can identify which one used it, not from this record. Whoever processed the shipment copied a valid authorization. I need the access logs, maintenance schedules, and camera outages. Noah said that could take days. The gala is tonight." Vincent's voice ended the discussion. He straightened. "No one hears about this until we know more." Lena looked at him. "Harlow already knows more than we do." "Then tonight he tells us. He will not walk into a ballroom and confess." "No. But men like Harlow enjoy proving they are the smartest person in the room." Vincent looked at the Meridian code once more. Let him try. By late afternoon, the Caruso estate had changed. Security vehicles moved through the front drive. Men in dark suits checked weapons and communication devices in the entrance hall. Noah spoke in low tones with the heads of Vincent's security teams, while staff carried garment bags, sealed cases, and floral arrangements through the house. The Halcyon Hotel Gala had been planned months earlier as a public display of stability among Chicago's major criminal families. Now it had become something else. A stage, a trap, possibly an execution ground. Lena stood in the bedroom while the seamstress fastened the black silk gown. The dress fit closely at the waist and fell in clean lines to the floor. Long sleeves concealed the healing mark around her wrist. A structured bodice protected the stitches near her ribs without restricting her breathing. The seamstress stepped back. "You asked for pockets." Lena slid one hand into the hidden opening along the skirt. Perfect. Inside the pocket rested a slim encrypted drive containing copies of everything she had found on Harlow. The second pocket held the security phone Vincent required her to carry. A narrow knife was secured against her thigh, though she hoped the evening would end without anyone discovering it. The platinum ring sat low against her finger. She closed her hand. Nothing caught. The door opened. Vincent entered wearing a black tuxedo. His hair had been pushed back from his face. A white shirt sharpened the contrast of his dark jacket, but he wore no tie. He stopped when he saw her. The seamstress smiled to herself and gathered her equipment. "I will wait outside." The door closed behind her. Lena turned toward the mirror. Vincent remained near the entrance. "You look beautiful." She adjusted the cuff on one sleeve. "You sound surprised." "I am surprised you agreed to wear the dress. It has pockets." His mouth curved. The laugh that followed was quiet and real. For a moment he looked less like the man who controlled half the illegal money moving through Chicago, and more like someone who had forgotten how rarely he found anything amusing. Lena watched him in the mirror. What Vincent approached. "You keep checking the room behind you. Mirrors are useful. So are guards. Guards can be bought." His expression changed. She turned to face him. "I was not speaking about your men." Tonight everyone is speaking about my men. Vincent stopped in front of her. His gaze moved over the dress, the ring, and the careful arrangement of her hair. Do you have a weapon, yes? Where you said I could choose what I wear. That does not answer the question. It answers enough of it. He looked almost amused again. Then his face became serious. If anything feels wrong tonight, you tell me. Anything already feels wrong. You know what I mean. Lena looked toward the window. Snow covered the darkening grounds in pale blue light. Meridian does not announce itself. It enters through legitimate doors, a shipping contract, a private security company, a political donation. By the time people see the pattern, Meridian already owns the people who could stop it. Vincent stepped closer. Then we identify the door. And if it belongs to someone you trust, his eyes held hers. Bring me proof. Lena heard the warning beneath the words, but she also heard the promise. Evidence first. Blood later. She nodded. Vincent offered his arm. We are late. The Halcyon Hotel stood along Lakeshore Drive with limestone walls, golden windows, and a private entrance overlooking the dark water. The public knew it as one of Chicago's oldest luxury hotels. Tonight the public could not enter. Black vehicles lined the underground garage. Armed security teams guarded every elevator. Guests passed through metal detectors disguised behind velvet screens. Lena stepped from the car beside Vincent. Flashes appeared immediately. Not cameras from the press. The gala had no official media. These photographs belonged to private security teams and criminal families who wanted proof of Vincent's new wife. Vincent placed one hand against the center of Lena's back. The touch looked possessive from a distance. Up close, the pressure was light, a question. Ready. Lena lifted her chin. They entered together. The ballroom occupied the top floor of the hotel. Crystal chandeliers burned above white tables and polished marble. A jazz quartet played near tall windows overlooking the frozen edge of Lake Michigan. Men in expensive suits stood beside women wearing diamonds purchased with money that had never appeared on tax returns. Every important organization in Chicago had sent someone. The Bellini family controlled construction contracts. The Ortega crew handled routes through the West Side. Several representatives from Detroit stood near the bar. Judges, business owners, union officials, and city employees moved between them with carefully neutral smiles. Conversation slowed when Vincent entered. Then it stopped when the announcer spoke. Mr. and Mrs. Vincent Caruso. The name crossed the room like a blade. Lena felt hundreds of eyes move over her. Some were curious. Some were amused. Several were openly hostile. She recognized the structure within seconds. Older captains looked at her as an insult to tradition. Younger soldiers looked at her as a story they wanted to repeat. Rival leaders studied the distance between her and Vincent, searching for proof the marriage was false. The women watched more carefully than the men. They noticed the placement of Vincent's hand, the ring Lena had chosen, and the fact that she did not lean toward him for protection. Noah met them near the entrance. Harlow has not arrived. Vincent surveyed the room. He will. Noah looked at Lena. Caleb is near the east windows. She followed his gaze. Caleb Shaw stood with 2 South Harbor managers and a state senator. He was broad-shouldered, silver beginning at his temples with the relaxed confidence of a man who believed every room already belonged to him. He saw Lena looking. Caleb raised his glass. A polite welcome. Or a warning. Lena could not tell which. Vincent guided her toward the center of the room. The first test arrived before they reached their table. A woman in emerald silk stepped into their path. Margaret Bellini was the wife of one of Chicago's oldest bosses. Her smile carried the precision of a knife wrapped in velvet. Mrs. Caruso, she said, what an unexpected pleasure. Mrs. Bellini. Margaret glanced at Lena's dress. Vincent has always enjoyed surprising people. Vincent said nothing. Margaret continued. I imagine this world must feel very different from carrying drinks. Lena looked toward a waiter passing behind her. Not very different. Margaret's smile cooled. No, people still become honest after the third drink. Vincent's hand moved slightly against Lena's back. Margaret studied her for a moment, then laughed. Perhaps you will survive after all. She moved aside. Vincent leaned close to Lena's ear. She dislikes everyone. Then I am in good company. A union official approached next. He shook Vincent's hand, then looked at Lena as if she were part of the table arrangement. Will the new Mrs. Caruso continue working? Yes, Lena said. The official smiled. At the club, the position changed. His smile disappeared. Vincent did not hide his amusement. The tests continued. A captain deliberately forgot Lena's name. She remembered the name of his mistress. A businessman asked whether the fight had been staged. Lena asked whether he wanted Mason's doctor to explain the fracture. A young soldier stood in her path near the bar, waiting to see whether Vincent would force him aside. Lena stopped. She said nothing. The soldier smiled at first. Then he noticed the people watching. Every second he remained became an open refusal to respect Vincent's wife. His face changed. He stepped away. Lena continued without acknowledging him. Vincent followed. You could have asked him to move. He knew. You enjoyed that. Only a little. The music changed. Waiters filled glasses. For almost an hour, the gala maintained the appearance of peace. Then the ballroom doors opened. Grant Harlow entered with 6 men. He was in his late 50s, silver-haired and dressed in a midnight blue tuxedo. His posture was elegant. His smile was warm enough to be mistaken for kindness by anyone who had never seen what happened after he stopped smiling. The people nearest the doors moved aside. Harlow greeted 2 bosses, kissed Margaret Bellini's cheek, and accepted a glass of champagne. Then he walked directly toward Lena. Vincent's hand left her back. Both of his arms rested loosely at his sides. That was how Lena knew he was prepared for violence. Harlow stopped several feet away. He looked at Vincent only briefly. So this is the waitress who broke Chicago's favorite toy. Lena took a glass from a passing tray. Mason was not a toy. Harlow smiled. No toys are usually designed well. Several nearby guests turned away to hide their reactions. Harlow's smile tightened. Vincent's expression remained calm. You came late, Grant. I wanted to give the happy couple time to enjoy the attention. Harlow looked at Lena's ring. Beautiful. Practical, she said. I heard that about you. You heard many things. I heard you cost my organization $6 million. You lost $6 million. Because of you. Because you gambled. The room around them grew quieter. Harlow stepped closer. In my world, debts are paid. Lena took a small sip of champagne. Then perhaps you should begin with your own. For the first time, Harlow's eyes changed. Only slightly. Vincent saw it. Noah, standing near the table, saw it too. Harlow lowered his voice. You have been Mrs. Caruso for less than 2 days. Do not confuse a ring with protection. I do not. Good. I confuse evidence with protection. The ballroom noise continued around them, but the people nearest had stopped pretending not to listen. Harlow smiled again. What evidence? Lena looked toward the windows. Would you prefer to discuss Nevada or Indiana? His expression remained controlled. She continued. The private casino account in Nevada receives deposits from 3 companies that report no gaming revenue. One is a charitable foundation. One is a restaurant group. One exists only on paper. Harlow's fingers tightened around his glass. Lena spoke softly enough that only the closest witnesses heard every word. Those accounts receive money within 48 hours of shipments disappearing from official records. You have an active imagination. Container 8941 was reported damaged at South Harbor. Your insurance company paid the claim. 3 days later, the same container entered a warehouse in Gary under a different identification number. Harlow's face became still. Container 9027 followed the same route. Lena continued. So did 9140 and 9278. Vincent watched her. He had known she possessed the records. He had not known how completely she understood them. Harlow looked toward his men. The soldiers behind him were listening now. That was the pressure point. Lena did not need to prove he had stolen from Vincent. She only needed his own people to wonder whether he had stolen from them. You think a few numbers frighten me? Harlow asked. No. Lena reached into the hidden pocket of her gown. Every guard near Harlow shifted. Vincent stepped closer. Lena removed only a folded card. She held it between 2 fingers. $17 million moved through the Nevada account during the past 11 months. Your senior partners received less than half. One of Harlow's men looked at him. Harlow noticed. The first crack had appeared. Lena continued. The rest passed through a foundation registered to a woman named Claire Voss. Harlow's smile vanished. Claire Voss was not a public name. She was Harlow's daughter from a relationship no one in Chicago was supposed to know about. Lena watched the knowledge strike him. If one file leaves my hand, she said the men behind you stopped caring about the money they lost on Mason. She lowered the card. They begin asking how much you took from them. Harlow's gaze moved to Vincent. You allowed her into your books, Vincent answered calmly. I allowed her into yours. Harlow laughed, but the sound carried no humor. You married an ornament and mistook her for an advisor. Lena tilted her head. An ornament does not usually know about the house in Evanston. Harlow went still. The house belonged to Claire Voss. No one spoke. Harlow moved suddenly. His hand reached for Lena's arm. Vincent caught his wrist. The reaction was so fast that Harlow's glass slipped from his fingers and struck the floor. Crystal shattered between them. Every guard in the ballroom reached beneath a coat. The jazz quartet stopped playing. Vincent's voice was almost gentle. You entered my hotel. His grip tightened around Harlow's wrist. You threatened my wife. Harlow's face reddened. Vincent leaned closer. Now you are reaching for her. The room held its breath. Lena looked at Vincent's hand. She understood what would happen if he broke Harlow's wrist in front of everyone. Harlow's people would respond. Other families would choose sides. The gala would become the first battlefield of a war that could consume half the city. She placed 2 fingers against Vincent's hand. Let him go. Vincent did not move. Lena looked at him. Vincent. The use of his name reached him. His grip loosened. Harlow pulled his arm back. A red mark remained around the wrist. He looked from Vincent to Lena. The marriage no longer appeared ceremonial. Vincent had obeyed her request in front of the room. Not because Harlow deserved mercy, because Lena had asked. That was more dangerous than anger. Lena stepped closer to Harlow. I broke Mason's arm because he refused to stay down. Her voice was quiet. I am giving you the opportunity he wasted. Harlow's jaw tightened. For several seconds, pride fought with survival behind his eyes. Then he stepped back. Mrs. Caruso. The title sounded like an insult and a surrender at once. He turned and left the ballroom. His men followed. 2 of them exchanged a look before the doors closed behind them. The room remained silent. Vincent looked toward the musicians. Continue. The quartet began again. Slowly, conversations returned. They were different now. No one called Lena the waitress. No one questioned the ring. Vincent offered his hand. Dance with me. She looked at the dance floor. Is that an order? It is damage control. That sounds less romantic. I am trying not to frighten you. You have failed repeatedly. She placed her hand in his. Vincent led her onto the floor. Other couples moved aside. A slow jazz song filled the ballroom. His right hand settled at her waist, careful of the healing wound. Lena rested one hand against his shoulder. The position placed them closer than the ceremony had. Vincent guided her through the first turn. You could have destroyed Harlow tonight, not without starting a war. He threatened you. Dead men create martyrs, and frightened men create distance. Vincent looked at her. You planned every word. I planned enough. The house in Evanston Harlow visits once every 6 weeks, never with his usual security. Property taxes are paid through the foundation connected to the Nevada account. You found that since Saturday I did not sleep much. His thumb moved lightly near her waist. You should. So should you. I sleep. No. You close your eyes inside a guarded building. Vincent's gaze sharpened. That sounds familiar. Lena looked past his shoulder at the ballroom. Caleb remained near the east windows. He was watching them. Vincent noticed the direction of her gaze. Do you distrust him? I distrust unexplained access. That was not the question. Lena returned her attention to him. Do you want the honest answer? Yes. I think loyalty built from history can become invisible. People stop checking it because admitting doubt feels like betrayal. Vincent's hand became still against her back. My father trusted everyone until they gave him a reason not to. What happened? He died. The answer was quiet. Lena said nothing. Vincent turned her slowly beneath his hand. My father built the organization through fear. Men obeyed because they believed the consequences of disobedience would reach their families. And you, I prefer evidence. Evidence can be manufactured. So can affection. Their eyes held. For a few seconds, the ballroom disappeared around them. Lena felt the warmth of his hand through the silk. She heard his breathing beneath the music. Vincent's face was close enough that she could see the faint scar near his jaw. He looked at her as if she were not a problem to solve, as if he were trying to remember the exact moment she had become something else. His thumb brushed the platinum ring on her finger. Lena felt the contact everywhere. Neither spoke. Noah approached before the song ended. His expression broke the moment. "Vincent?" Vincent released Lena slowly. "What, we have a security issue." Noah lowered his voice. Someone accessed Lena's background report from an internal credential. Lena's body became still. "When 30 minutes ago?" From where Vincent asked. "South Harbor." The music continued behind them. Noah glanced toward the east windows. Caleb was gone. Vincent followed his gaze. "Which credential one assigned to Caleb's office?" Vincent's face hardened. "That does not mean Caleb used it." "No," Lena said. "It means someone wants us looking at his office." Noah handed her a phone. The access log showed the exact time terminal location and file request. Lena studied it. Then she opened the shipping records she had saved earlier. The timestamps aligned. The same terminal had approved one of the Meridian containers. She looked toward the ballroom exit. Whereas Caleb Noah spoke into his radio, no response came. A security guard approached. "Mr. Shaw left 5 minutes ago. With whom alone?" Lena returned the phone to Noah. "He knew we found Harlow's accounts." Vincent's gaze remained on the door. He did not know about Meridian. "Someone did." Noah asked, "What do you see?" Lena looked across the ballroom at captains' wives, politicians, and soldiers pretending to enjoy the music. Everyone had entered through the front doors. The real danger had been inside the organization before the evening began. She turned to Vincent. "Your enemy is not across the ballroom." His eyes met hers. "He is on your payroll." The words changed Vincent's face. Not with shock, not at first. Shock belonged to people who had never imagined betrayal. Vincent had imagined it from everyone except the man whose name now sat in the center of the evidence. Caleb Shaw. Vincent looked toward the ballroom doors long after Caleb had disappeared through them. Music continued. Glasses touched. Guests laughed too loudly, trying to convince themselves the danger had passed with Grant Harlow. Noah lowered his voice. "We should leave." Vincent did not move. Lena watched the tension gather across his shoulders. "Vincent." His eyes turned toward her. "Not here," she said. He understood. If the room saw him react, the rumor would spread before they reached the elevator. By morning, every enemy in Chicago would know that someone inside the Caruso organization had access to protected files. Vincent offered Lena his arm. His expression became calm again. "Smile." She looked at him. "Why?" "Because everyone is waiting to see if Harlow frightened us." Lena placed her hand on his arm. "Did he know?" "Then smile yourself." His mouth curved slightly. Together they crossed the ballroom while conversations bent around them. No one stopped them. No one dared. The elevator doors closed on the sound of jazz. The moment they were alone, Vincent's smile vanished. "Call the estate," he told Noah. Noah pressed a finger to his earpiece. "Double security. Lock the server room. No one enters without my authorization." Lena looked at the numbers on the phone again. The internal search had lasted only 14 seconds. Someone had opened her file, copied the photograph attached to it, and closed the system. 14 seconds was not curiosity. It was retrieval. "Caleb did not access this for himself," she said. Vincent stared at the descending floor numbers. "What makes you certain he already knows what I look like?" Noah ended the call, so he copied it for someone else. Meridian. The elevator opened into the private garage. Vincent's convoy waited with engines running. Snow moved through the entrance in pale waves. They entered the center vehicle. This time no one spoke during the drive. Lena sat beside Vincent while Noah worked from the front seat, calling trusted security officers and ordering quiet checks on South Harbor access. Vincent looked out the window. The city passed across his face in reflected light. Lena had seen men confront betrayal before. Some became loud, others became cruel. The most dangerous became still. Vincent had gone still. "Tell me about Caleb," she said. His gaze remained outside. "No. If he is working with Meridian, I need to understand why." "You need evidence. I need both." Vincent turned toward her. He has been with me since we were 14. That explains history, not motive. We grew up 3 blocks apart. His father drank. Mine demanded loyalty like it was rent. Vincent paused. When my father was killed, half the organization expected me to follow him into the grave. Caleb stayed. Did he save your life twice? Lena heard the weight in the answer. And because of that, no one checks his books. Vincent's eyes hardened. Careful. I am being careful. She lowered her voice. History can create loyalty. It can also create entitlement. Noah looked back from the front seat. The South Harbor records are being deleted. Vincent's attention snapped toward him. Can you stop it? The terminal is inside Caleb's office. Our remote access has been blocked. Lena held out her hand. Noah gave her the phone. She read the alert. Files were vanishing in groups, camera logs, cargo records, payment reports. Caleb was not hiding anymore. He knows we are coming, she said. Vincent leaned forward. Where is he? Noah spoke into his radio, waited, then removed his earpiece. His home is empty. His private phone is off. The location signal disappeared near the harbor. Vincent looked at the driver. South Harbor. Lena caught his arm. No. His eyes moved to her hand. She released him. If Caleb wants you there, the harbor is prepared. He is destroying my records. He wants you angry enough to arrive without thinking. Vincent's voice turned cold. He betrayed me. That is exactly why you should think. For one moment, she believed he would ignore her. Then Vincent looked at Noah. How many men can we trust? Noah considered the question carefully. Completely yes. 8. Vincent gave a quiet, humorless laugh. Out of more than 200. 8 who were not hired, promoted, or paid through Caleb. Lena handed the phone back. Do not alert anyone else. Vincent studied her. You think the organization is compromised? I think Meridian never enters through one person. The convoy changed direction toward Lake Forest. At the estate, the gates opened before the vehicles stopped. Vincent, Lena, and Noah entered through a side door. Security teams moved across the grounds, but no alarms sounded. Inside the secure office, Lena opened the South Harbor records while Noah connected a backup archive. Vincent stood behind them. Find me proof. Lena worked. The stolen containers had been hidden beneath legitimate insurance claims. Each false loss created a gap in the records, and each gap had been filled with expenses from real shipments. The theft was elegant enough to survive ordinary audits. It was not elegant enough to survive someone who knew Meridian's habits. Lena traced the payments through construction companies, port contractors, and a chain of warehouses in Indiana. Noah watched the screen. How far back? 4 years. Vincent's face tightened. Caleb had begun stealing before Lena arrived in Chicago, before Mason fell, before the marriage. She opened another ledger. The missing money did not go only to Harlow. Part of it had funded private security accounts controlled by Caleb. Another part moved through companies connected to former Meridian officers. Lena found a warehouse lease near the Calumet River. The lease had been renewed that morning. She enlarged the address. Vincent recognized it. That building belonged to my father. Noah looked at him. I thought it was abandoned. It was. Lena checked the access logs. A Caruso emergency code had opened the warehouse gates less than an hour earlier. Then the estate lights went out. Darkness swallowed the room. A second later, red emergency lamps appeared along the floor. Noah reached beneath his jacket. Vincent stepped in front of Lena. The backup system failed to activate fully. That is internal, Noah said. His phone rang. The screen showed Caleb's name. Vincent answered. Where are you? Caleb's voice came through calmly. You already know. What did you do to my house? Nothing permanent. You accessed my files. I protected what you were too distracted to see. Vincent's face became empty. Come back and say that to me. Caleb laughed softly. You married a stranger, gave her access to your books, and let her humiliate Grant Harlow in front of the city. Lena heard wind on the other end of the call. Metal striking metal. A harbor. Caleb continued. You have forgotten what built this organization. Vincent's voice lowered. I remember exactly what built it. No, your father built it. We kept it alive, you and me. The word carried years of loyalty and resentment. Vincent looked at Lena. Caleb heard the silence. She is there, is she not? Lena stepped closer to the phone. Yes, Caleb breathed out. Meridian wants to speak with you. The room became still. Vincent's hand tightened around the phone. Caleb continued. Come to the old warehouse. Bring Lena. Bring no more than 2 men. In return, I give you the Meridian contact and every record I copied. And if I refuse, your wife's photograph reaches people who will never stop looking." Lena spoke before Vincent could. "You already sent it." A pause, small but clear. She had guessed correctly. Caleb said, "Then you understand there is no reason to delay." The call ended. Vincent lowered the phone. "You are not going." Lena looked at him. "He asked for me. That is why you are not going. He has the Meridian contact. He claims he does. And if he is telling the truth," Vincent stepped closer, "I will not deliver you to the people who shot you. This is not delivery. It looks exactly like it." Lena felt anger rise sharp and immediate. "Then stop deciding what happens to me. I am trying to keep you alive. And I am trying to end this before Meridian places another person inside your house." Vincent's jaw tightened. "This became my war when you took my name." Lena held his gaze. "Then fight it with me, not for me." The words remained between them. Noah stood near the backup terminal watching. Vincent looked at the ring on Lena's hand, then at the dark server screens. 8 men, he said. Noah nodded. "We take 4. The rest stay here." Lena reached for the black coat hanging beside the door. Vincent caught it first and held it open for her. The gesture was ordinary. The choice behind it was not. They reached South Harbor after midnight. Snow fell harder near the river. Wind moved between warehouses carrying the smell of fuel ice and dark water. The old Caruso building stood at the edge of the property, separated from the active docks by stacks of shipping containers. Its exterior lights were off. One door remained open. Vincent's trusted men moved into position without radios. Noah checked the side entrance. Locked. Lena looked toward the rows of containers. A narrow passage led behind the warehouse toward the loading platform. "Caleb expects us through the front." Vincent followed her gaze. "You see another way I see the route he forgot to remove from the old plans." Noah gave her a small flashlight. They moved along the containers in silence. Lena counted cameras. 2 had been turned toward the main entrance. 1 had been disabled. The 4th followed their path. She stopped. Vincent looked at her. "Camera. Can you avoid it?" No, a red light blinked above them. A gunshot struck the metal wall beside Vincent's head. His men returned fire. The harbor erupted. Muzzle flashes cut through the snow. Bullets struck containers and scattered sparks across the ground. Vincent pulled Lena behind a steel column. Noah fired toward the upper catwalk. "Move!" he shouted. They entered through a service door as glass broke above them. Inside, the warehouse stretched into darkness. Containers formed long corridors beneath rusted cranes. Emergency lights glowed near the floor. Caleb's voice came from somewhere ahead. "You always did choose the difficult entrance." Vincent moved forward with his gun raised. "Show yourself." Caleb stepped into the light at the end of the central aisle. 4 armed men stood behind him. A 5th man wore a gray coat and black gloves. Lena did not recognize his face. She recognized the way he stood. Balanced weight, hands relaxed, eyes moving through the space instead of toward the person speaking. Meridian training. The man looked at Lena. Evelyn Price. The name struck harder than the gunfire outside. Vincent glanced at her. Lena kept her eyes on the Meridian operative. "No one has called me that in 3 years. We believed you were dead. You should have checked the ashes." The man smiled. It was not the man who shot her. The smile still brought back the smell of smoke. Caleb opened one hand. "This can end without more blood." Vincent looked at him. "You stole from me. I built South Harbor. You were paid to run it. I was paid to remain beneath you." The resentment finally showed. Caleb stepped closer. "Your father trusted me more than he trusted you. When he died, I kept the captains in line. I protected you while you learned how to sit in his chair." Vincent's expression did not change. "And now you want it. I want what should have been mine." The Meridian operative looked at Lena. "We want only her." Vincent raised his gun. "You are standing in my warehouse." Caleb laughed. "No, you are standing in mine." The lights went out. Gunfire tore through the dark. Lena dropped behind a container as bullets struck the steel above her. Vincent landed beside her. Noah shouted from the opposite aisle. One of Caleb's men fell. The lights returned in weak red pulses. Vincent reached for Lena's hand. "Stay behind me." "No." "Lena." She pointed toward a maintenance passage between the containers. "The operative is moving for the river exit." Vincent saw the shadow crossing the far wall. Together they moved. Lena led through the narrow passage, following marks on the floor left by recent cargo equipment. The route opened near the loading platform. The Meridian operative waited there. He fired. Vincent pushed Lena aside. The bullet struck his coat near the shoulder, tearing fabric without entering flesh. Lena rushed the operative before he could fire again. She caught his wrist and drove it against the railing. The gun fell toward the river. He struck her injured side. Pain exploded through the stitches. She lost her grip. He hit her again and forced her against the steel. "You should have stayed dead," he said. Lena drove her forehead into his face. Bone cracked. He stumbled. She trapped his arm turned and forced him over the railing. The operative caught the edge with one hand. For a moment, he hung above the black water. Lena looked down at him. "Who else is in Chicago?" He smiled through blood. "Enough." His free hand reached inside his coat. Vincent fired. The operative fell into the river. Lena turned. Vincent lowered the gun. "You were asking him a question." He was reaching for one. A shot echoed behind them. Caleb appeared near the loading doors with his weapon aimed at Vincent. Lena moved first. She struck Caleb's arm as he fired. The bullet passed close to Vincent and shattered a window. Caleb hit Lena across the face. She fell against the railing. The wound beneath her ribs opened fully. Warm blood spread beneath the gown. Vincent attacked Caleb with a force Lena had not seen before. They struck the floor together. Caleb reached for the fallen gun. Vincent drove his hand away and closed both hands around his throat. Years of loyalty vanished beneath rage. Caleb's face darkened. Vincent tightened his grip. Lena pushed herself upright. "Vincent." He did not hear her. She crossed the floor and touched his shoulder. "Not yet." His head turned. Caleb struggled beneath him. "He knows the Meridian network," Lena said. "We need him alive." Vincent looked down at the man who had stood beside him since childhood. Caleb stared back without apology. Slowly, Vincent released him. Noah arrived with 2 guards. They dragged Caleb upright and secured his hands. Vincent stood. Blood marked his knuckles. Caleb laughed weakly. "She gives the orders." Now Vincent looked at Lena. She stood near the railing with one hand pressed against her side, pale but steady. "No," he said. Then he looked back at Caleb. "I listen when she is right." Caleb's expression changed. That answer wounded him more deeply than the fight. By dawn, South Harbor belonged to Vincent again. Caleb's records exposed 3 managers, 2 security officers, and several companies that had drained money from the organization for years. Harlow disappeared before Vincent's men reached his home. His own partners received copies of the Nevada accounts. By sunrise, they were searching for him too. The Meridian containers were seized. The operative's body was never recovered from the river. 3 days later, Vincent gathered his captains at the estate. A second chair stood beside his at the head of the council table. The men noticed it immediately. Noah entered first, then Lena. She wore a black suit and the platinum ring. A fresh bandage rested beneath her shirt. Vincent waited until she sat beside him. South Harbor finances, internal security reviews, and shipping audits now require Lena's approval. One of the older captains leaned forward. "With respect, Vincent, she has been here less than a week." Lena placed a folder before him. He looked down. His face lost color. Inside were records of money he had hidden from his wife, though not from the organization. Lena folded her hands. "Do you object?" The captain closed the folder. No Mrs. Caruso. No one else spoke. After the meeting, the room emptied. Vincent remained beside the window. Lena looked at the second chair. "You understand what you did. I gave you authority. You gave up absolute control." Vincent turned. "For years I believed control was the reason the empire survived. And now I think it survived while I was trying to control everything." He approached her. "The night I challenged you, I thought I was making you part of my reputation. You were. No." Vincent touched the ring on her finger. "You made yourself part of the empire." His voice softened. "Then you made the empire yours?" Lena looked at him. "Half." A quiet smile appeared. "Half." That night, Vincent walked her to the guest wing. He stopped outside her door. The contract still promised separate bedrooms. Nothing had changed on paper. Everything else had. "Do you want me to leave?" he asked. Lena studied his face. For most of her life, protection had arrived with conditions hidden beneath it. Vincent had finally offered her something without taking away the choice. She opened the door. Then she took his hand and pulled him inside. He stopped close to her. He waited. Lena kissed him first. The kiss was slow, careful, and chosen. When they separated, she rested her forehead against his. "This does not change the contract." "Of course not. I still get my own room." Vincent looked around. "You are standing in it." Lena laughed. The sound came without caution, without checking the windows, without counting the exits. Near dawn, an alert sounded from the secure office. Lena and Vincent entered together. A photograph filled the center screen. It showed them at the Halcyon Gala standing beneath the chandeliers. Beneath the image were 4 words. "Asset price confirmed alive." Vincent read them. "How many will they send?" Lena looked beyond the window at the Chicago skyline. "I do not know. Are you afraid?" "Yes." Vincent waited. Lena slid the wedding ring firmly into place. But fear and obedience are not the same thing. He stood beside her as morning spread across the city. Vincent Caruso had laughed when he offered to marry a tired waitress. He was not laughing now. She had defeated his champion, exposed his enemies, survived his world, and claimed a seat beside him. Vincent had not lost his empire in a war. He had lost the right to call it his alone. And Chicago was about to learn what happened when its most feared king finally found a queen.